Okay, so the first thing you need to do is take this engine covers off, or take it off, as you can see. And then if you have a strut brace, take that off. From what I've seen and read, you're gonna need to remove this. I believe this is the cruise control module, as well as this to get into timing cover, as well as, see if I can turn on the light, the engine mount right here. See if you can see that. After that, I believe it's loosening, I believe it's that idler for the air conditioning belt, and then as well as somewhere in there is the alternator, so I gotta loosen that. If there's anything that comes up between now and then, I'll make another clip. Okay, so I ended up taking the mount from the last clip that was right here, the cruise control module. As you can see, bolt here, and there's one right there. I ended up taking off this, I believe it's a breather hose, the PCV or whatever. I just removed the screw and took out this negative, and just removed it just to give me a little bit more clearance. And as you can see, I'm not sure if it'll be able to be a little bit more clear. Well, you can kind of see it's pretty oily down there. So that confirms my suspicion of it being in the oil pump. As now you can see, alternator, I believe the one sticking out, let me see if I can get hold the camera and the light. That one right there, we're gonna have to loosen that one up, and also this one right here. That'll allow us to push the alternator inwards towards the motor, and we can remove that belt. But look how covered in oil everything is. So working on that side. Also forgot to mention, I took off this. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it was kind of over this area here. I disconnected it from right there. So just a reminder to not lose your bolts, and be careful when removing everything. Okay, as you can see, the belt for the AC is gone. I already took it off. So, and I took the idler pulley off as well. So this bolt here just kind of slides up and down. Let's try to get a better angle. As you can see, these were super loose for whatever reason. Like this nut right here, and this bolt here were already pretty loose. I'm not sure why, but yeah, if you just I guess loosen this, and it'll just drop the whole idler up and down. That way you can pop off the belt, and now we can move on to the next step, which you can't see anymore, but it is the alternator belt. Okay, so for removing the alternator belt, I loosened up this nut right there, the one coming towards the rear passenger wheel, on the top side. So that's one you loosen up, and this long bolt you see here, which is that one right there, that is the tension. So you loosen that up, and it allows the alternator to swivel back and forth. I'm about to show you on the underside, but before I do that, let me show you it's loose. As you can see, I'm not sure if that's loose enough to get the belt off, but I just wanted to show y'all before I took it off. On the underside, what I did was this cover here. There's a couple of bolts. As you can see, there's one, two, there's one right here. You can kind of see it there. And I believe that was it. Oh, there's also one right here. Right there. So yeah, take that off to get better access to this side under here. But for the alternator, I loosened that bolt right there. That allows it to kind of swivel on that edge. And it looks like I need a little bit more to go, but just take a look at that. Look how covered in oil and grease all this is. And you can see here, if your 5SFE is looking like this, it's more than likely the oil pump. I had a dye and a UV light to confirm where it was coming from, because I originally thought it was the timing cover. The valve cover, and it was still leaking. So that confirmed it there. But yeah, let me go on the top side and remove and loosen the alternate a little bit more to get that belt off, and it will go on from there. Okay, this next part might be a little difficult to see, but I'm gonna try my best to kind of explain where things are at. So the next step from here, after you've taken off both of the belts, is removing the motor mount, the front motor mount, which is right there, as you can see, right there. So there's this bolt here, and there's, let's see, there's that nut right there. It's getting kind of, see if I can point to it. Right there. There. You're gonna loosen those two up, and so there, and then after that, there's that bolt there, and let me try to show y'all where the other ones are at, if I can even get in there. I don't know if it's gonna focus or not, but there's two bolts right there, if you can see them. Kind of hides under the shadow, but oh, there you go. Those two bolts right there, this one and then that one. You're gonna loosen that up, but what you need to do is lift the motor up just a little bit to get some that relief off, and yeah, just get to it. I don't know how I'm gonna get to it, but we're gonna do our best to get there, because without it we can't remove, I believe it is the top cover. Yeah, so I'll try to explain after I loosen them up. All right, let's see if I can focus it a little bit. Okay, as you can see, I removed the motor mount, which goes there. I'll show you right now, but I'm working on removing that bolt you see right there. I don't think I can show you because I'm trying to hold the phone in the light, but there's a bolt there, and then see, I already took out the first one, as you can see right there. Those two bolts plus this bolt, those are 14s, and basically when you're taking off the motor mount, you need to take that off, which is a 17. Make sure to jack up the engine, but when you look at it, it's going to look like this, and yeah, so these are on the bottom, so you can get these. Those also 14s as well, from the underside, and that sits in that hole right there. So once you remove these and take that main bolt out, which just fell, you can just kind of lift this up, and it gives you a lot more space. I didn't realize I could do that until after the fact, but yeah, that bolt I'm working on is basically impossible unless you have a ratcheting wrench. So yeah, make sure you take off the motor mount and then take that off, and then we should be able to take off the top half of the timing cover to expose the timing belt. So let's get to it. Okay, after the most toughest time I've had, I finally took this bracket out, and I wanted to show everybody what it looks like outside of the car, so you can see what I was talking about. So when you look at it from the top, let's see if I can get this, you'll basically be looking at it like this. So to remove the motor mount, you'll obviously take off this big bolt here, and then these two little nuts on the underside. You can only get these from the underside of the car. So once you're under here, you obviously take these off. Okay, and then from here, you got the motor mount. So while you're under the car removing these nuts, you'll see this bolt here. It's also a 14, and this is one I didn't notice it until I was under here. You'll remove this one, you'll remove these two, and then you'll be left with this Now the tricky part here is getting this thing out. It's really big, and when you're wiggling it out there, as you can see, it's pretty fat, so it won't really want to go. You'll have to lift the engine up and kind of wiggle it out. You have to lift it up pretty high in my case, and I was able to get it to come out. But yeah, now it's all freed up in here. As you can see, let me get a light. So once you get it all out, there's gonna be these bolts that look like this. There's one there. There's one. I'm sorry, I hold the flashlight in one hand. There's one right there. If it focuses, right above the pulley. Right there. There's another one. There's one right there. I don't know if I'm able to show you the other ones, but I'll take those off and then I'll show you exactly where they are, and that helps you figure it out. You gotta be careful because these are all different sizes, or most of them are pretty different sizes. So if you want to get a piece of cardboard and put all the bolts there, that'd be a good thing to do. But I'll show you which ones. All right, I just took off the top upper timing cover, and I kind of want to tell you where to look for the bolts before you try to find them yourself. So there's one right there, obviously, you can see right there. There's another one down, try to not focus on my finger, basically where you loosened up the air conditioning belt, which is right there. And then there's another one right under the bracket, if you can see. Try to zoom it in right there. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, right there. There's another one there. So there's one right there, 1, 2, and then 3 down there. And on this side, let me zoom back out. There's one right there, and then there's one. I don't think I'd be able to show you from here, from this angle, but there's one under there, basically where the engine mount was. So let me take off the cover so you can kind of see. So it's very important to make sure your bolts are all separated because they're all different lengths, as you can see. But that last one is down there, so that the left side, you got that bottom one. So let me move these around to kind of show you. So as you can see, small bolt, long bolt, small bolt, long bolt. So this is the top half of the timing cover. Just make sure you kind of place them where they should go. I'm gonna be cleaning this up because it's very oily and dirty. So before I put everything back together, I'm gonna give it a quick cleanup. But here we can see the timing belt. Get a light in there. Okay, so we can see the timing belt. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to find, let me see if you can see the mark. So you see that mark right next to the bolt to the left side, or the hole. We're gonna have to line it up. I believe there's a mark somewhere here. I'm not sure if you're able to see it, but there is a mark right there at the very top, right there. So we're gonna have to use a breaker bar to rotate the engine and to line up that mark in here. And also on the crank side, there is a mark. I'll have to get a better angle to find where the mark is and show you, but we're gonna have to line up the crank and the cam before we even consider removing the belt. I just got the parts in yesterday, so I got the belt, I got the tensioner right there, I got the idler, which should be somewhere down there under the bottom half of the timing cover, and I got this Fail Pro oil pump gasket, so it replaces the seal and the gasket. So yeah, there's a part number. Let me get a better angle and show everyone. All right, so under the car, on the crank, you can see these marks. There is some marks. Let me see if I can show you. Basically on the timing mark up there where it has like 0, 5, 10, and 15, I believe. You're gonna want to line it up with the 0, this mark. And then you also want to check up there to make sure that that hole I showed you earlier is lined up with the mark up top. And there's a couple of videos explaining basically what we're gonna do is get it to top dead center and go from there. So I'll probably link a good video to show you how to get there for these engines, or just a video in general. So yeah, I'm gonna get this spun over and kind of show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna go very steady because I have it pretty zoomed in. So the crank marks right there. Here's your timing marks, and there the 0 is the very far right. As you can see, I'm almost there, a little bit left to go. And what you need to figure out, or basically kind of as you're doing this, see if you can get a good view of this. So that mark right under this, try to set it down right here. This mark right here and that hole need to be lined up. It's a little bit, just like the crank, I need to go just a tad bit more to get these lined up, and that should be at the top dead center. Another way you can check is if your spark plug, #1 spark plug here, this one, if you put like a long enough screwdriver or flathead, just kind of set it in there, take the spark plug out, set it in there, and it should be as far up as possible. Basically, that's how you know top dead center, you're at top dead center. And it's very important because you're gonna have to remove the timing belt, and you do not want to lose timing on these engines. Okay, so now that we got it on time, you can see if it focuses. Directly looking at it, let me see. Basically right there on the 0. It's not easy to get it with the camera. And that is lined up with the mark right there, as you can see, if it focuses. And so now we're gonna take the pulley off. I forgot to say that bolt is a 19. I'm gonna spray some PB Blast to loosen it up, and then try to get it with the impact. But that oil pump is right there. So there's a couple of screws just like the top timing cover that we're gonna have to get to. And yeah, we're almost there. All right, so I already loosened up the crank bolt, but what I got, I went into Harbor Freight, got this impact. It was on sale, and bought these impact sockets with the, you know, the extensions, and it wasn't cracking it loose. And so I was reading and looking. People were saying to use the starter to crack it loose, and I was just about to do that when I read that these sockets that have a really fat wall, as you can see, transfer the vibration a lot better than the regular sockets. As you can see, it's a lot big difference there. Yeah, I wasn't even prepared to do it. I just wanted to see if it actually worked, and it loosened the bolt up before I got to get the timing again, because it was kind of shifting the crank. So the timing wasn't that even. So I put the bolt back on. I'm gonna retime it back to 0, and then it should easily come off again. So yeah, if you have that issue where the crank bolt is not coming off, definitely, if you have an impact, definitely get one of these. So it's size 19. That's for the size for the crank bolt. If not, just, I guess, a breaker bar. And what I was gonna do is have the breaker bar, you know, obviously on the bolt, and snug up against this right here, this subframe. So should have cracked it loose. But yeah, I definitely recommend impact and that fat socket. So I'm gonna retime it, and then we can take off the crank. All right, the next thing you're gonna do, so we're gonna try to remove the crank pulley itself. I went and bought this already for a long time ago. You can go to your local auto parts, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, whatever it may be. They should have this bolt type wheel puller set. It'll look something like this. It'll come with, you know, these items. You're gonna obviously need this thing. And I'm gonna use this one. As you can see, it has a little point. You might be able to use this one as well, but I'm gonna use this one. And then this set, you're just gonna have to see which one in the set, in those holes right there. You're gonna put these bolts, and yeah, you're basically gonna put them like so. And yeah, so I'll show you right now as I'm putting this on before I start taking it off. So now, after you got it on, it should look something like this. I like to use a wrench instead of use a ratchet and socket, and just kind of slowly start turning this metal piece, and it'll start pulling it off. The reason you don't want to use one of those jaw pulley pullers is because there's a rubber piece that goes in here, and basically if you ruin that, then you'd have to go get another crank pulley, which, like most of you are like me and don't want to go do that. So this is the safest bet, and we're gonna slowly be doing this until it pops out. I probably might loosen it up and add a couple more washers to evenly distribute the load right there. So yeah, keep at it, and it'll come off eventually. Okay, so this is loose now. You'll probably run into the same issue I did, where the puller hits the rail, the frame rail here, and so maybe you should try to give it a wiggle. As you can see, this is loose enough now. These are the 2 holes you're using on just the middle part was going into the crank right here. As you can see, if I can get a better shot in there. There's your timing marks. So yeah, now that this is off, we can get to these bolts here. There's one right there, one right there. There's one right here, I believe, and I gotta go up, but we're gonna be looking for the oil pump back there, and it's gonna be pretty messy, so I'm gonna have to do it and get back to you after I get everything off, and I'll show you like I did with the upper timing cover. So be right back. Okay, here's the timing cover, the lower half of it. So it's just this bolt, that bolt, and it came out. This top one was part of the other half. So now loosen up this pulley here by loosen that spring you see right there, and loosen the tensioner so the belt can come off. And I think we might actually loosen up the oil pump gear first, which is right here. Just because we got to get back there, and it actually might be easier for us to get it while it is still tensioned under the belt. So let's do that first. Loosen the bolt right here. This one, it's a 12. Use the impact driver and the impact sockets and stuff. See if I can get it up here. No, okay. Well, as you can see, obviously I removed the timing belt, but getting in here, let me see if I can rest y'all right here. So there's the spring. Where is it? This spring here, as you can see, basically sits right on this notch, if you can see it. So you loosen up the tensioner, and then you remove the spring off of it, and it should allow you to move the tensioner down, because this is what it'll look like when it's fully tensioned. So let me see if I can get it back down. So once it's fully down, you can then remove the belt, the timing belt off of that, and just carefully move it around. I'm really hoping my timing is on the top dead center, because I can't really see the cam pulley. So, but now it is time to remove the oil pump. So let's go back down. As you can see, there's a couple of bolts. There's let's see, that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Gotta verify if there's one behind there. That pulley tension idler, I mean. But yeah, let's get those off, and I'll let you know if there's anything else you might need to take off. This is also a good time if you want to change the water pump. It's that one right there above this idler. So yeah, let me get these off and I'll show you what to do. Okay, so I ended up removing the idler pulley, which is right there, and that went in this hole. Try to get my finger in there, right there. And then there's one last bolt right there. So I already broke it loose. Let's see if I can do this. Same thing with the timing cover, the upper half. You make sure you separate them all, because they're all different sizes, as you can see. And I removed the bolt for the cam pump, which is right there. As you can see, it's slotted. So there's only one way to put it on. So this should just let us kind of pop it out. Might need a flathead to... Okay, I got it off. I had to use my other hand to get better leverage on it, but put the bolts where they belong. It actually kind of moved the napkin around, and I had to look back at the video. So yeah, make sure you be careful with that. I left the bolt on, as you see, and we got it. So that is the inside of the pump, as you can see. And here is the motor side. So it's pretty oily. I don't know if the gasket failed here. Let's see right now. It doesn't seem like the gasket failed, but I am leaking from here. So it might be the seal. So yeah, I'm gonna clean this up, and yeah, I'm gonna clean the engine side up, and then I'm gonna clean the back side of this up, so we can go over part numbers I got, and get to the putting it back together, because I have a race tomorrow. All right, so I cleaned everything up as best as I could. This is the new seal, and I got it with this. There is the part number. I took the other one out. It didn't seem too bad. It looked like some wear kind of right there, but I don't think this is the main culprit of the leak. But yeah, I took a flathead, kind of just slowly pried it out all over, and it came out. And then I cleaned the inside. So now I'm going to install the new one, but I want to lube it up, since it is a seal. Let me do this real quick. Got some oil. Get it around there. Get some in here as well. Now, you don't want to fully seat this seal, because as you can see, there's a slot right there. That is where the oil comes out. So make sure you leave a little gap, I guess, when it sits flush with the part That's when you know you're good. Okay, that's it in flush. Let me see if I can show you. Also the inside. Get a flashlight. So you see there's a gap right behind the seal. You want to make sure you leave a little gap. Maybe you can see it there a little bit. Yeah, you want to make sure there is a little gap there. Probably see it better right there. Make sure you leave a little gap, and then it's moving on to the gasket. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can do this while the tripod is in the way. You want to, as usual, lube up the gasket. Use some oil. You do not want to pinch these, because then if you didn't really have much of a leak, you probably will be having a big leak after this, and it's a pain to get to it. As you can see, you've probably done it yourself. So you want to make sure you're doing everything you can to prevent that. So I cleaned it off as best as I could. Okay, well, I think for the next step I might have to move the camera out the way, but the next step is your, I guess, gear for the pump, which is this thing. And for some reason mine doesn't have an arrow over here, but if you can see, there's an arrow right there, and there's supposed to be an arrow in here somewhere that you're supposed to be able to just kind of just line up. And yeah, so if yours has a mark, this mark will line up. I think the other mark's supposed to be up here, and they'll be directly facing each other. So and make sure yours is like that, and then put the pump cover back on. Just be careful with the gasket, make sure you're not pinching it or anything. I have to double check once I move the camera out the way. But on your cover, get it in the frame, you want to lube up the inside part before you stick it on there. So it'll go like this. Just make sure you lube that up, and yeah, so let me get you guys out the way and get this back on. All right, as you can see, the cover's back on and the pulley is back on. So when you're doing this, you kind of want to do like cross pattern. So, you know, tighten this one, go across, and then go across, and this one, that one, that one, that one. Kind of, you know, making sure you're distributing the load evenly. You do not want to tighten these, because then you'll pinch, and then it'll be, yeah, it's a disaster. So yeah, make sure you do, like, basically you're tightening a wheel back on the car. Just cross pattern. And this, I have a torque spec sheet here, and but yeah, I put the pulley back on, make sure it lands on the, it'll sit flush, you'll know when it sits flush. And then now we're going to add the idler pulley. But here is the torque specs if you want to take a picture of it or a screenshot, whatever. Newton meters or foot-pounds. So I can't tighten the oil pump pulley yet because I need something else to hold it. So I'm gonna put the timing belt back on, torque, you know, the idler pulley, tensioner, and the crank. Hopefully the crank, and then probably the oil pump will be the last thing I torque. But yeah, that's what's next. Idler pulley is next to go on. All right, so the tensioner is back on. Sorry, tensioner is back on. The spring is on. The bolt is not fully tightened. because we need to put the timing belt back on. But yeah, with it right there, you should be able to push it down by hand and slip the timing belt over, and yeah, then we can tighten it from the torque specs given earlier. So I'll show you what's next. All right, I just torqued down the crank. I added the belt. It was a pain. I hope everyone can figure out how to do this, because luckily my dad had one of these tools, and it helped me leverage it up against the subframe to then use my full body weight to get it to 80 foot-pounds. But timing belt is in, as you can see. Pretty good tension. I gotta spin the crank right now, but yeah, then make sure the timing is correct. Obviously you can't see it right now, but down there we have to verify it's correct, and then put the top half of the timing cover on, and then just miscellaneous items, and ready for a fire up. All right, so I just put the upper timing cover back on. You can kind of see. I'm about to put on the belts, but I got new belts since I was already in there. So this is the part number for the alternator, and this is the part number for the air conditioning. This is without power steering. So yeah, I got the timing belt with the tensioner and the idler in a kit. I threw the box away, so I'll have to put it below in the video here. There's the part number. So yeah, we're gonna get to putting these two on, and then we can put the mount back on and wrap this up. Okay, both belts are back in, as you can see, and they're tightened. You kind of want to have a little bit of slack, but not too much. Let me see if you can see. Just about that, what you'd like to see and feel. Next up is the motor mount. So I lifted the engine up as far as it can go, I believe, and I'm gonna try to snake it back in there and get the bolts back in to finally get this finished up. So as you can see, my car's not in the garage anymore, but I didn't get to film a close clip. But put everything back together, and went to a track day, and it worked perfectly fine. The leaking oil had whatever was left that was dripped on the exhaust burnt off finally, and seems to work. Also, my AC, I had an issue where my AC was squealing very badly. I think that might have been fixed after I put everything back together. So yeah, hope to help. Let me know what you would have done better with the motor mount, because I struggled a lot. But yeah, thanks for watching.